This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Hello, church family. I pray this message finds you all well during this now the second week of February 2021. I do have an announcement I want to make today. I want to let you all know that we will be having an Ash Wednesday service here at Harris Chapel next Wednesday, the 17th at 6:30 p.m. We will have the service in the sanctuary where we will be practicing our social distancing requirements. But we will also be broadcasting through our FM transmitter on 102.3 for those who would like to stay in their vehicles. The imposition of ashes will take place in the sanctuary and also be offered to those in the parking lot. So I do hope to see you all next Wednesday, the 17th at 6:30 p.m. as we begin the Lenten season. Our devotional this week comes from 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. It was written by the Reverend Doc Hollingsworth, and he titles it, Lost Heroes. Reverend Hollingsworth writes, I tried to remember and list all my heroes, and I had a hard time determining whether Batman or Superman had a larger influence over my life. Like many, my earliest heroes are my parents. But I tried to list the others. Batman and Superman surely made the list. And don't laugh, but I'm not talking about the cartoons. I mean the real ones. Adam West against Cesar Romero as the Joker, and the real black and white Superman. I remember I used to run through the house with a towel safety pinned around my neck, jumping off the end of the sofa, pretending to be Superman and Batman. But as we mature, our heroes change a little. The next one I can remember is Henry Aaron, Hammerin' Hank. I think I was 12 when he hit the home run that broke Babe Ruth's record. Next was Bond, James Bond. Now, when you're a teenager, nothing is cooler than Bond. If the situation required that he know how to speak Russian, then Bond knew Russian. If it required knowing how to fly a plane, then he could fly it. If it required knowing the foxtrot, then Bond could dance. James Bond kept the world free from harm, all without ever messing up his tie. At age 16, that's about as cool as it gets. As I thought about all my childhood heroes, I was reminded that I never met any of them. What would that have been like? In today's passage, we read about Elijah and Elisha. Elisha had the chance to know his hero. He walked with the greatest hero of the Jewish people in his day. Elijah, you remember, led the dramatic contest with the prophets of Baal at Mount Carmel. All of Israel remembers the contest. God answered Elijah's prayer on that day. Elijah called on God for fire, and fire came down from heaven and consumed the sacrifice on Mount Carmel. It was a high day. Elijah was God's prophet and the people's hero. Here in our text, toward the end of his life, Elijah, the old prophet, walks along with the younger Elisha. The story has all the dramatic signs you would expect of Elijah's final scene. He tells Elisha, "Stay here, for the Lord has sent me to the Jordan." But Elisha will not stay and abandon his hero in the last moments. A company of 50 prophets follow at a distance and watch the slow walk of the aged Elijah and his young companion. They watch as Elijah takes off his cloak, his mantle, and touches the waters of the River Jordan. no longer completely amazed at the power given to Elijah, they do go silent as the waters part and the two men walk on dry land to the other side. Elisha has 1,000 questions, but can only remain silent until Elijah asked, "What may I do for you?" Maybe this question is what distinguishes the truly called ones. I don't know that I could trust my answer if someone who had been given that much power asked what I wanted. But Elisha answers, "Please let me inherit a double share of your spirit." He asked Elijah to leave him the blessing of leadership and the power that allows for continued demonstration of the goodness and power of the one true God. The request will be granted only if Elisha actually sees Elijah being taken from him. They walk some more. Then the wind picks up, and Elisha cries out as he watches the chariots and horsemen in the fierce whirlwind that take Elijah away. In grief, Elisha tears his own clothes. Then Elisha picks up Elijah's mantle, calls on the Lord, touches the water with Elijah's cloak, and in the sight of the 50 attending prophets, walks on dry land to his new role of leadership. What a great story. There are many parts of my own story that I found throughout that drama. The loss of great leaders has led to grief for me. When great leaders retire and die, I sometimes fret about whether life can ever be the same. Also, I found myself afraid of the mantle. God is at work in the world bringing peace and reclaiming lives. I've watched as great men and women participate in that enterprise. Sometimes, when I've seen Elijah's mantle in front of me, however, I've been afraid to pick it up. What happens if I were to pick it up, hit the water with it, and nothing happened? But the part of this story that interests me the most is actually not a part of today's text. Further along in the story, the 50 prophets insist on sending a search party for Elijah. They can't believe he's gone. Although Elisha insists that the search will be fruitless, they persist and search 3 days for Elijah. They just cannot accept that the chapter is closed. They can't move into what God wants to do in the present and future because they're guilty of believing that God's great work belongs to a day that is now over. They can't move past the gone era. They cannot open their eyes to what is going on in the world now. And maybe this is why Elisha had to see Elijah go away. Maybe he had to know for sure that the era was over. It's embarrassingly simple of me to think that the heyday of the church was when I was a child and the churches were full. I had a happy childhood, and they were good and abundant days. But my hope is always too small if it is in reverse. Is there a part of us that has given up on God doing something really big in the present? Elijah did not represent God's final great work, although some people thought so. God was still at work, redeeming the world. And God is still at work today. And God's greatest work may still be ahead. I mentioned with regret that I never got to meet any of my childhood heroes. The irony is that the great hero of my adult faith is trying to meet me. Like Elisha, I follow a hero who ascended and wants to give me a portion of his spirit. Jesus may also want me to pick up the mantle and do something important within his great drama of redeeming the world. My hero is trying to meet you too. And his greatest work may be ahead of us. I pray that we do not miss it because we are looking behind us, looking in the past. I pray that God would give us the courage to pick up the mantle of Christ, and also pray that he would give us the strength to do the work he has called us to do. May he continue to bless us all.